and values of the American people, but also carries with it, I am absolutely convinced, the hopes of the world. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I couldn't agree more that the hopes of the world very much depend upon us. And again, I thank you for your testimony. Before we get into other longer discussions, you didn't mention Afghanistan. And I was there a couple of months ago and witnessed that continued duplicity on Pakistan's part, outright, blatant duplicity, where they continue to support the Taliban, the Haqqani network, and give safe haven to al-Qaeda. Most of us have been to the Waziristan and seen the tremendous amount of taxpayer money that's gone into changing the context of those areas, but they continue to give them safe haven. So recently they've asked to be able to purchase F-16s. I'd rather than purchase them from a U.S. company than some other company, but they also want U.S. taxpayers to subsidize more than half of that purchase over time. Do you agree with my position that that should not occur until they stop the duplicity that has continued now for 14 years while we've been in Afghanistan?
Well, Mr. Chairman, we're evaluating all aspects of the counterterrorism efforts with respect to Pakistan's impact on Afghanistan, obviously. I just met with Nawaz Sharif, Prime Minister Sharif, a few weeks ago, and we discussed our concerns about the need to rein in particular terrorist groups that are either homegrown in Pakistan or are using Pakistan as a sanctuary. And we've been very, very clear about that they have to target all militant groups.
But if I could, I don't want to, we do know that they know exactly where these people are living, not in the FATA region, right in Pakistan, in neighborhoods that they could interdict while we were having this hearing, and they're not. So I don't want to go into a long discussion about our relationship with Pakistan. I do hope that ultimately you'll support the position that I've laid out in my capacity as chairman, that zero U.S. taxpayer dollars will go to subsidize Pakistan's purchase until such a time as they do the things that we know they could do to stop helping to destabilize Afghanistan, where men and women in U.S. uniforms have lost their limbs, lives, and huge amounts of taxpayer monies have gone to support a country as it evolves in democracy and anti-corruption and other ways.
It is a very complicated mix, Mr. Chairman. I know you know this. The government itself, the military, has been very cooperative and very engaged in the fight against terrorism. They've lost tens of thousands of people themselves. And they have had 160 to 180,000 troops out in the western part of the country conducting a sweep, a major operation, again, North Waziristan and elsewhere. They drove the Haqqani network into new locations, and it's an ongoing process. But there are, obviously, and we should deal with this, I think, in a classified session, entities that complicate our efforts very significantly. And we've had those conversations, and I'm happy to go into it in greater depth. I understand your reservations about it, but their military has been deeply engaged in the fight against terrorism. They've got several groups there that are of concern, and we should talk in a classified session about what we're trying to do about it.
They're partially helping, they're hedging their bets, and they're continuing a long line of duplicity, which is, the greatest threat to U.S. soldiers right now in Afghanistan, and I know you know that, and I agree that the relationship is complex. How should we look at our relationship, speaking of complexity, with Russia? They have done more for a country that has very little economic resources